For today's sessions, I was conduct on top of Agile30 community. So what is this community about? It is a thriving community to connect all the Agile enthusiasts globally. So in the community, we also provide 4 track of mentorship program, such as Agile process and technical, like today's session is more technical. And also we also provide the product development and leadership program. And I promise Agile30 is the top-notch mentorship program because we have all the experts here. So all the sessions we provided is at a low cost so that we don't break your bank. So like today's session is free. So please make use of Agile30 as your partner in your personal and professional growth, which is beyond the certificates and training. Okay, so after I share the Agile30, you also can follow us because we are quite active in the Agile30 LinkedIn group. There's a private group with all the brilliant people like the leaderships insights. So feel free to join, or you can also join our Facebook group, which is Agile30, and also we are active in the meetup.com. So all the events will be published over there. So feel free to make use of any platform. And also we have the website, agile30.org. Okay, so we will share all the top news over there. So let me introduce about myself. So I was a software engineer, and also I code over 10 years. I start with Java, and then mainly use ASP.NET C#. And for a very short period, I involved in the React and Node.js projects. So meanwhile, I'm also play Scrum Master role. So with a Scrum Master hat, I also have the certified PSM1 and PSM2. So my current role is Agile Coach in Agilemania. And meanwhile, I'm also is the Agile30 community facilitator. So feel free to reach out to me or PM me or DM me if you have any questions or you need any help. And I also will be quite active at the agile30.org website. I will publish some of my blog posts over there and also my personal LinkedIn account. So time to time, I will share some tips. Continue with the heads up. So this session is a code heavy sessions. I will demo in C#. So I'm sorry if you don't use C#, but I think it should be good enough for you to understand. So in this session, you will learn how to identify the bad code or the problematic code in your code base. So after recognize it, then you can start to clean the dirty code. So we can talk about it at another day, how to clean it. So this session is mainly to how to identify. So for those who are involved in the code review process, of course, the code smell can help you to provide more constructive feedback. So in my experience, it's not only the software developers need to get involved, but also the tester and or QA roles, quality assurance or quality engineers, they might also involve. So the answer is not necessary. You must be the one who do the coding or development need to join this. So because when I was a Scrum Master, I'm also playing the software engineer role. So these sessions definitely can help me to help my team members as well. And also some manager do also understand this. And, when you do the interview candidates, this can also help you to have a quick check. So I can say that this is like a common language among the developers. So when you understand the code smells, of course, for developers is more useful because you know how to avoid the problematic code and you can write a readable code. Then readable code can help you to save time and find the bugs. And also the code smells can remind you to build a good software design pattern so that you have a testable code, you can have the maintainable code, then everyone can understand your code. So for long term, actually you are able to code faster. But of course, if you ignore all the code smells, it will possible lead to a tech debt. So this is why the reason you need to get to know about code smells. So go to the next. I have to check whether, what do you think? What is the code smells? Is it for you? Is a bug? Or is a broken code that you need to fix? Or if you have a duplicate method, you can continue with the slider just now, the sections. Yeah, there's some options over there. Whether it is a bug, it is a broken code, whether it's a duplicate code. So which one you think is code smells? Or you think a large class is also part of code smells? Or you don't have any ideas? So for those who follow me at LinkedIn, I did share some tips for this. I can see some of it, even like the switch statement or the shotgun surgery. I'm not referring to a doctor's kind of surgery, but in the code base. Okay, so the answer is it is not a bug or broken code, but it is a problematic code that will lead to poor code quality and tech debt, which means the rest of the options are all code smells indicator. So in the whole sessions, you will start to getting familiar with those naming or the terms like large class, comments in the code, shotgun surgery, switch statement, duplicate code. So all these are code smells. Next. So I will share a little bit of the background of the term. The term of code smells is actually from this book written by the Martin Fowler's called Refactoring, Improving the Design of Existing Code. So Martin Fowler also is one of the authors for Agile Manifesto Principle, the 12 principle and the 4 values. Why we call it code smells? Code smells means it's very, not a good smells. So why they use this term is because I believe writing code is like craft work. So there's a lot of way for you to do it, a lot of room for creativity. And there's also very objective to measure the good or bad code, clean or smell code. So have you ever experienced when you open a file, the code smell and disgust you? It's like when you open the file and you feel like, I don't want to work on that. Have you ever feel? If you experience this, please let me know in the chat. And the code could be written by you, not by others. Because it happens to me. When I open, I feel like, who wrote this code? And when I check, it was me. Another sign of code smell is you are not eager to get involved. Like when you talk about some functionality and you open the code and it feels like it's too complicated. You don't want to have a look or involve or edit or change the code. So in the book, of course, the code smell is actually referring to the structure in the code that suggests or screams for refactoring. So what it means for refactoring is the way when we call refactor your code, it means you want to make your code easier to understand and it is cheaper to modify. It's not ask you to rewrite the whole things. And at the end, you don't change the behavior or the logic. Okay, so that is the refactoring terms. So in my previous, some of my video, I did mention that we actually have 22 code smells. And in order for us to have a better understanding and easier to remember, they are website help to group this into 5 categories. So whenever you see the categories, you can immediately to relate what is that mean. Of course, the website I will share at the end of sessions in the slide. So for this coming session, there is 22, but I'm not going to able to explain all of it because we only have 90 minutes. So I will pick 2 from each categories. So feel free to ask me questions or discuss it whenever you have any questions. So first category is the bloaters. So what we means bloaters. So the bloaters is mean it is too large to handle, and there is a total 5 under it, which is a long method, large class, primitive obsessions, long parameter list, and data clouds. Okay, so we're going to pick a long method. So what do you mean long method? Long method is any methods which with too many lines of code, which include clean code practice. It could be like as long as more than 10 lines, you have to question yourself. Am I going too big? So can you guys see read the code here? So I have the class called process order. You can see here. So can you spot the smells? You can see that in this method, there is a total like more than over 47 line of codes. So it is very easy to write a code, right? But for others to read it, it will be very painful. So this smells, it doesn't break anything, of course, but time to time, it will turn to oversize. And the next person who in the future, when they open the code, they will see this is very long method and I have to trace what it is. And of course, mentally, it is very hard for you to create new methods, but you just think like, I can add 2 lines of code enough. So I no need to create new methods. Am I right? Software engineers, you always think only 2 lines of code, no need to create new methods, right? So of course, you have to think about whether is the method name is too abstract or the method name is not straightforward enough, is not clear, is a lack of intent. So then that's why you have a long method. So how we going to treat this? So as a rule of thumb, if you feel the need to comment something inside the method, like in this case, line 7, there is a validate order data. And then you have a line 17, also have some calculate method, this kind of comments. Then you should take this code to put inside a method. So in this case, the clean code part, you can see I have the example how I refactor it. So put that part into a new method called validate order. Do you think this is easier for you to read the code? And also, even single line, you also can split off into a separate method whenever it needs the explanations. So in this case, not only the validate order data, but also the second part, the calculate total numbers, you can also turn it into a separate method. Okay? So like in this case, calculate total amount is a very descriptive name. So nobody will need to look into the code to understand what it does, right? Because by the naming, you already know. So the golden rule here is each function should only do one thing. Like the calculate total amount is just calculate total amount. In the process order is have a validate orders, calculate, apply discounts. So it only do one thing. Do it well, do it only, and think of the functions as a focus task with a clear purpose. So the rules of function, it should be small and small than that. Okay, so this is the long method and how you can refactor it. So yes, Wenxiang, so you ask, is module reusability, let me check. So Wenxiang, you're asking, so give me a moment, quick one. So because I cannot see full for the Q&A part, so maybe I will answer these at the sessions at the end of the Q&A sessions, okay? So feel free to continue to put in your questions. Okay, I can read Wenxiang's. So is module reusability a consideration too? Yes, you want to make sure your modules is reusable and maintainable so that you don't have a duplicate code. So that's a yes. Okay. Any other questions? If no, then I will move on to the next. So the next, so for large class is also similar to apply, similar concept to apply. Whenever you have a large class, you have to also think about it. So that's why I didn't go in detail because it's very similar with the long method. One is on method, one is on the class. So the next one I picked to share is the primitive obsessions. So this one also quite common. We may occurs or we will get used or miss out in our code base. So what do we mean primitive obsessions? Is the excessive use of primitive data types like string or numbers. So in this case, you can see the order. You have a string for order ID, string for product name, there's no issue, but the double for price and string for order dates and integer for status, and you have a string array for address. So can you spot the, the how we say that, the disaster coming? So what if you assign the order dates with a string that start with years, but your friends, Jimmy, another developers, your colleagues, start with days? It happens, right? So you should have a better data types for it. So this is how you spot the code smells. When reading this, you can relate. We tend to use string, numbers, simple things to for the data types instead of small object. So like price, we should use currency or money object instead of use the double, because you never know what is the currency here referring to. And also the reason why we will use primitive data types, because I think programmers tend to say it's just a field to storing some data. Why I want to complicate it to create a separate whole new class, correct? So yes, but then you have to think of what if the future, other than the address, if the order is there is a deliver address or the pickup address. So are you going to apply the same logic with the string array? Possible, right? You will just continue grow it bigger and bigger and go to the unforeseen tech debts. So this, like I mentioned, the price, date, status, and the address, you will have very less expressive data types. So how do we clean it? Any ideas? Any of you have any ideas? How can we clean it? You can unmute yourself if you want. No worries. So of course, the easier ways is just create the appropriate data types. Like the price, you can use the money. So inside the money class, you have the currency and so on. And the order date, you can make use of the date time, or if you have your own class for specific order dates format, yes, so that you can check it. And also status, you can make use of the enum types. And address, it is better you have the address class, which store the shipping code, street name, country, state, which is more appropriate and expressive, so that your colleagues like Jimmy doesn't go wrong with a wrong data type, or go put in the wrong value for different the objects. So the ideas here is to replace the primitive type with more meaningful abstractions. So there is a readability and maintainability. So instead of, like I mentioned, instead of using the separate string variable for date, but you use the date or datetime object to encapsulate all this data. Okay. So like yeah, so that's it. Any questions for this part? Yes, no, we good. So no questions is either I explain well. Let me know in the feedback sessions, no worry. So the next one we're going to move on is the object-oriented abuser. So what do you mean object-oriented abuser? Well, it is also very straightforward that it is inappropriately apply the object-oriented principle in your code base. So there's a total 4 of it. I will pick the first one is the alternative classes with different interfaces. So this one, the name seems very long, but then which is also means it's just a confusing name of similar functions. So just now when I say you have to create separate methods with a focus task, focus on only one thing so that you don't make your code go to the long method or large class, right? So in this case, in the menu item class, so I have the main course, I have drinks, but I have two different methods that I'm going to assign order to kitchen, or another method is assign order to bartender. So it happens, right? Sometimes it's very similar functions, but then we just break down into two different names. So as a developers, you may need to use different methods or similar operations depending on the they work on. Sometimes the programmer who created one of the class, maybe they don't even aware there is a existing class over there. So what it means also violates the principle of having the consistent and unified interface for similar functions. And it makes the code hard to maintain or understand. So how do we treat these code smells? So you have to find the differences between two functions. Like in this case, is the assign order to kitchen and assign order to bartender. I have to look for the difference between two methods, include the name, parameters, and even the return type. Then I have to give it very meaningful function names. If only part of the function is a duplicate, so we can extract it and make another one. But then for this case, why not we just make use of group it into assign orders. So that inside the assign order, it can split the task, whether you want to assign order for kitchen or bartenders. And this is so that if they have a similar functionality, when you have to change, if you didn't go in this way, you have to change in assign order to kitchen and assign order to bartender as well, right? Of course, in this code example, I'm use a simplest way of the structure, but I believe in your code space for your companies definitely will go to more complicated. This is the reason you have to find a similar part and give it a good name so that you can reuse it. Okay? Clear? Okay. So the next one. So the next one I choose to explain is the refuse request. This is also happens in our code base, which what it means is like you have the class in the super class, but then at the end it didn't switch for the subclass. So it is like inheriting tools, but you choose not to use it just because for your subclass it's not appropriate to use it. Okay. So I also want to explain the refuse. What we mean refuse here is a reject. So what we mean the bequest is the inheritance. So you refuse the inheritance from the superclass. So what is the reason for the smells? So someone, I believe some of the programmer is like motivated to create the inheritance between the classes. so that you can reuse the code from the superclass. But actually the superclass doesn't apply for your subclass. It happens sometime. And then if you recognize this, that means this is the sign of refuse bequest, because the subclass not fully utilize the inherited behavior. So in the code example I've shown here, like the menu item, there is a superclass menu item, and there's a method called calculate cost. And I have the fast food item inherit from menu item. And I create my own separate calculate combo cost or calculate combo price. I didn't make use or reuse the method from my superclass like calculate cost. So of course, this is very easy to treat. In this case, you just make sure the subclass is appropriate to inherit the menu item. So in this case, fast food item, yes, it can inherit from menu item, and it should reuse of the calculate cost from the superclass, because ideally you can override it and return your cost. Like I say, the method is you want to reuse it so that you don't sorry, because I'm reading something. Okay, so okay, continue with the story. So you want to reuse the method from the superclass so that you doesn't how to say, you doesn't misuse it. So if you recognize the subclass doesn't share any common feature with the superclass, so just consider using the superclass object, not in this inheritance way. But if you inherit it, so make sure you have to reuse the appropriate method, get rid with the unneeded method in the subclass. Okay, you understand for this part? Okay. So we go to the next category, which is the change preventers. So you can see the picture I put over here is all the wires, all the hair wires. So what do you mean? Means if you need to change something in one place in your code, you have to make changes in many places as well. And then your code become very complicated and expensive to maintain. Is any of you ever doing something like this, like when you read the code or you want to change some functionality, you was like, it's very hard. It's not, I have many concerns. If you change here, you may break another part. Do you ever experience that? So in these categories, definitely it has 3 types of code smells. So like I mentioned, the change preventers is resistant to future change or updates. So it consists of a divergent change, parallel inheritance hierarchy, and shotgun surgery. Okay. So next one I pick is the divergent change. So what do we mean divergent change? So divergent change means a single class or the method that you need to change frequently. So do you have this kind of class whenever you add something? So I have made use of this case. Let's say the food order delivery apps. So in Malaysia, we use these food order delivery apps like Food Panda. And the reason I like to use Food Panda other than I prefer it other than Grabs or Shopee Food, because the Food Panda, it has some very good voucher code. For example, like GMAT or GMAT Pro. So it has a lot of a discount. So how many of you also using Food Panda? Let me know so that I know not only me using it. Okay, so here in this discount strategy class, so there's a few things. There's a discount percentage, like GMAT, you only get 20% of discount. GMAT Pro, you get 50% of discount. And then if future you want to have a more discount code, that means you have to change in this class as well and this method, right? Like Gmat la or Gmat or Jom Gmat. So you have to change it repeatedly and very frequent. And same for other method like the Gmat stem. So if you collect the stem, right, you can get some extra discount or enjoy extra benefits. So if you introduce new discount code, that means you have to expand in this class, correct? So this is the sign of divergent change. So it also indicating this why you have this, because it taken multiple responsibility. So in this discount strategy, you have so many responsibility. You have to get the discount percentage. You have to get the stamp, right? So it make the code base less maintainable, and also will it bring some risk of miss out things. For example, my Jimmy colleagues who is new to the team, so it has to make sure, I have to make sure he also cover all the method, right? But he may miss out anything, correct? So how do we prevent it? So in this clean code versions, I make use of the dictionary to group it together. Of course, this is very simple example that I can demo to you for now. In your code base, it definitely not in this case, of course. So you have to think of like, how do you make sure the class is not to keep edit or modified for different reasons whenever increase features or you want to change a request and whatsoever. So you can use the extract class or another subclass for it. So for this case, I make use of the dictionary so that easier for you to add another Gmat la or Gmat voucher code for different categories. Okay. So this can enhance the code readability and also reduce the errors during change. So my colleagues, Jimmy's, definitely doesn't miss anything with this kind of a readability code. So divergent change is the opposite of the shotgun surgery. So there's one category in the change preventer, which is the shotgun surgery. So divergent change is many changes made to a single class. But the shotgun surgery is referring to when you add single changes, but you have to make to multiple class simultaneously. So in this case, for example, like Gmat Pro or Gmat La, my colleague Jimmy have to source scan all the Gmat voucher code. How many class file have to change? Do you ever experience this? Like you have to source scan with the terms so that you doesn't miss the changes all over the place. I believe a software engineer did, right? So yeah, so you're so afraid that you have to like miss out code. You have to check whether you update here and there with the same similar functionality. So that called shotgun surgery. Okay, you understand with the shotgun surgery part? Good. Okay, then we can move on to the next one. For the dispensable, what is dispensable? Dispensable, you can see I put a garbage place there for you to throw away. So dispensable is the things that you can throw away, which is in the idea explanation, of course, it means something pointless and unneeded, and whose absence will make the code cleaner and more efficient and easier to understand. Means when you throw away, then can make your life easier. So this is the dispensable. So remember, it is unnecessary things you need to keep in your code. Of course, the first part is the comments. How many of you recognize comments is actually code smells? I think in previous sections, we only saw the duplicate codes is the major options, right? So, well, comments also one of the code smells. So this is a quite common example that I saw in my involved project. So whenever you saw a method filled with explanatory comments, like in this case, I have the payment processor class, and then the authors or the writers wrote the explanation what it is for. And it also explained that this class relies on the dates util library to handle date-related operations. And it also listed the requirements in the point form. At the end, it also have the author names, John, developers, and the dates. So have you ever seen a method is filled with explanatory comments like this? Have you? Any of you seen this before? It could be by you or by your seniors or your ex-colleagues. Or I should ask another way around. Are you the one like to keep the sweetie notes or the comments to help the reader to understand better? Any of you want to confess here? Especially, you may list the detail like why you want to write this class and what to do. Like in this case, John even put out the dates. Any of you? Okay, so it's fine if you recognize you are the one, then start from now you should think of like why you need the comments. Okay. So I, as a reader myself, when I open the class with this, I will be tensions. Why? Because I saw a paragraph of comments. I definitely will read more than once. Because I afraid I will miss out any details or any important details. And after I change the code, right, I will also think that shall I update the comments because I have changed the behavior. So if I update comments, what should I write? So is any of you also doing the same like me? Or you have no issue with reading comments? Well, if you do this, so you have to keep in mind that the comment is provided info, which it is dependable if your method name and your code is well structured, the method name is explanatory enough, then you can solve this problem. You don't need the comments to explain what you did, right? So if you're able to write a good name for method or class and you have a very good code structure readable, then the comment you can just erase. Okay. So the best comment also is the name of the method and class. Keep that in your mind. And whenever you think you need a comment to explain or help you with the code, some say I leave the comment because it reminds me what I did because I will forget tomorrow. So if you have this behavior, you have to think, is it the method name is bad? So you need to improve your method name in this case. And also, if you read the code, you have to expand the code and go in to read what is the logic doing. That means also the name is not self-explanatory. Okay, so I have actually written blog about this part. So in case any of you feel interested to go in, because I will share in the chat. So this is the blog that I also discuss on the class name. So whether the class name, how we make it descriptive and what is the potentials of the tech depths, it will going to happen. So feel free to read it. And if you think it's helpful, then you can share to your peers or share to, like I say, my colleagues, Jimmy. So how to treat it, just remove the comments. Okay, clear? So talking about comments, I also post this, I found this picture from online and also post in my LinkedIn. It's very funny because they try to tease that junior developers will write the comments in this way. So this is just for like a joke for you. So now you can relate why we need comments. Okay, next things. Other than the comments, yes, the duplicate codes like who else is Wensheng's mentioned before is a module reusability. Yes, the duplicate code, you have to make sure your modules is reusable and you don't create a duplicate code. And if you have a data class, you have to make sure the data class serve its purpose. And you have some date codes which you are going to use and some lazy class, and come to the speculative generality. So I picked this topic because I met this quite frequent in my experience. So we will tend to have this kind of quotes for futures. So I do have a senior also who like to create the class or the method, say just in case. I create this just in case for some future features, and it actually make the code is more complicated. So I'm not sure any of you facing this before, but if yes, then you have to remind yourself, think of it whether it is necessary, because speculative generality is the sign for this. So you have to make sure you create the class or the method. You have to make sure you create it and use it for purpose. So in this case, I give the example of a report generator, which is the generate Excel report. There's some noise over my side. If any of you hear it, okay, please let me know if I'm not clear in my side. Please let me know so that I can repeat myself. And in this report generator, we have two methods, which is generate Excel report and generate PDF report. And you have more and more. So you're going to create a method for this. But in this case, probably you just need to have one type, is not many type, but you create PDF one for futures, not for current features requirements. So in this case, it is a bit redundant. So how do I treat it is I create a generate report method and allow to pass in the parameters. It gives more flexible and maintainable solution, isn't it? Right? So this is a generate report method to handle. So any question for this? I give very simple example so that you can understand it and tackle in your code space. Okay, we come to the last categories, which is the couplers. So what is the couplers? So the couplers means excessive coupling between classes, and show what happens if the coupling is, if you think of the coupling, the term you replace with excessive delegations. Is it, can understand? No? So imagine you have a team of people working on a project, and instead of everyone doing their job directly, they are passing the work around for other team members to do a small part. So that means excessive passing around the task will slow down the progress and also make it hard to understand who's responsible for doing it, right? So that's how couplers means. Excessive couplings. So one of the the terms I pick is inappropriate intimacy. So what it means is maybe one class use the internal fields and methods of another class. So in this case, I think also quite straightforward with because we have account class, and in the account class we can set the address and get the account address details. So it's fine, right? It makes sense. You edit the account or you view the account, you can get it. But at the address class, here is the problem. You have the set account method and get account methods. So in this case, it shouldn't let the address, let the user to change the account via address, right? It doesn't make sense, correct? So how do we treat this? It's very straightforward. Just remove the intimacy. The clean code part is remove the set account part from address classes. Okay, so clear for this. And the next one I pick, we come to the last one of the categories, which is the message chains. So the message chain is more like a series of calls resembling. So you can see when you call to A and A have to call to B method and B method call to C method and C method to get the D method. Okay. So a message change occurs when the client requests another object and then the object requests yet another one and so on. So these chains mean the client is dependent on navigation along the class structures. So any changes in this relationship will require modify the clients. So in this case, you can see the message chain happen in city. So in order for you to process order and get a city, you have to use the customer to get the order, and from the get order method, you get the shipping address, and from the shipping address, get the city. Okay, so you can see the message chain over here. So how do we fix this mouse? So we have to think why the end object is being used. Because process order, you need the shipping cities, right? Maybe you need to display in the apps or you want to share in your invoice. So if it's necessary, so in customer class, just set a get shipping cities method to reduce this message chain. Okay. So in this case, you can see. Okay, so it's just 1 hour, nice. So I have come to the end of the slides, and I promise to share the reference that I have prepared for these webinars. So there's 2 books involved. One is the refactoring, improve the design of existing code, which briefly talk about this 22 of code smells. And also there's a handbook of the clean codes by Robert C. Martin. And also the last is the URL for the code smell categories. So feel free to go through that, and I will come to the Q&A sessions. Okay. So make use of the slido.com that I have asked before. You can use your phone. You can check the questions. So I will also check the question over there. So while waiting for you. Yes, Michelle?
Yes, we have a Q&A on the Q&A box and also on the chat box as well. We have questions for you.
All right. So let me go through one by one. Thank you, Michelle, for reminding on this. So yes, Michelle mentioned that it's your own code. Yes. Thanks for yourself to confess it. So you don't want to change the code because you are not familiar with the code or the code structure is bad. Yes, it could be both, right? But like I say, the how should I say, the responsible developers will make sure that the reader can read the code. So that's why we have all these clean code principle and so on, is to help. Of course, when you write the code, it's very easy. It is always easy for a software developer just jump in and write the code, settle one line of it, print what kind of info or data. But the painful part is, how are you going to maintain it? Is your code readable? Is your code reusable? That's the things we are going to discuss and help you guys. So this is why we have all these like code smells, why people write their books about refactoring. So yes, you're reluctant to change the code because it could be the code structure is bad. So keep in mind on that, is you can question yourself, is the things is going wrong here? Why? Is it the code structure is bad? Yes. Is it some code smell you can spot here? If yes, then definitely. Then you can refactor it. Of course, the refactor part is small by small. I'm not asking like refactor means you have to rewrite the whole structure. No, that is very expensive to do it. But refactor is the small part. Just like I showed the example just now. It's very quick. And then, yes, Ivan saying that, yes, no more documentation needed. Yes, because people tend to use the comments like a documentation or the Bibles for why they write the code. So I agree with you. So don't make use of the comments as your documentations. Okay, so Q&A sessions, like one on asking. So code documentation, you can make use of the README, right? And if you need a help file, yes, you can write a help file for that, or you can make use some internal how to say how do I say, internal documentation sharing area, for example, like Confluence and so on. I believe the Deoxygen also similar kind of things for you to write the documentations. So yes, you can definitely make use of that kind of tools, but not to do the code comment or documentation inside the code. Like in your class, every class you have your own story or paragraph. So like John developer just now, if you write the user story, if you write down the requirements and then its name and the date. But my colleague Jimmy, he just say, why I write this? Because you cannot use the date YouTube, right? Everyone have your own way of writing comments. So it is very messy, of course, to be honest. And also, like I say, I've been experienced by reading the documents, not documents, the comments. It's very long paragraph, and I don't understand what my seniors wrote, because the sentence I cannot understand. It could be my English not good, or it could be the structure, or what the things he tried to explain is too hard for me to understand. I believe some of you like experience that, right? Because some of the posts or story you read is very easy to understand. You feel good with it, but some of it is you have to repeatedly to read. So this is why the comments in the code also doesn't help you to focus on the class. It helps you to spend time to read the comments. So I hope I answer you comments. Wang. And then Wenxiang. So Wenxiang also asking questions like any tool recommendation for code smells. Yes, there's like SonarQube. It did helps for certain part, but it's not all the code smell it able to treat. The SonarQube can tell you that how many lines of code you had, and how many class file is too big or too large. Yes, that definitely can. But for the message chain and like the some of it like the speculative generality, that kind of reviews, because I think that one still need the developers involved to understand and design your code, right? So yeah, right now I do know about SonarQube. I don't really check other tools. My previous company also using SonarQube. Yeah. So hope I share. Hope I answer your questions. Any other questions? You can unmute yourself and ask. No worries. I don't bite. So if no, then I think we are done for the whole sections. So also you can make use of a Slackdoor if you want to share me the feedback. How do you feel, or you think what I shared earlier is something you already know? Please let me know. Or some of the code smells you saw just now in the table, but you would like to know more, then I can arrange separate sessions, or I can share at my LinkedIn. So let me know. You can make use of any chat here, or you want to share in the LinkedIn directly, PM me also can. No worries. So while waiting for feedback, I have also another free webinars done by other experts, which is about rethink agile. So this is more like about the agility, because I think if you follow the updated news, the latest, people keep mentioning like agile is dead. So we can talk about this topic. So if you would like to know more, can join this. Or if you think you have someone who may interested to the topic, also feel free to join this session or share to them, share to your team, share to your colleagues, because this is a very good chance for you to ask expert, because you know they are consultant, they will charge the hours and charge there is the rate to charge per hours is not cheap. So make use of it, all the free webinars from our community. Talk to the expert, they have very brilliant experience, and they have worked with many big companies before, across not only Malaysia but also like UK, US. So talk to them. Okay, so thank you so much for this. And I'm going to take you guys in the LinkedIn. Let me know if I didn't take you, or take yourself, or take your friends if I miss you out. So I will try my best to take all of you. And very nice to meet you. And thank you for your time to being here. So hope can help you guys for all the journey from software engineer, developers, QE, QA, Scrum Master. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, bye bye.